Hey guys, just a quick ramble from my phone. Um, I want to get this thought out there before I forget it. This has to do with humanizing versus dehumanizing people, but it's a long perspective on human beings on this planet and what it's going to take for us to survive. We've been facing all sorts of natural disasters, and a pandemic this year, and yeah, heightened tensions between different countries, and heightened tensions within our country. And so part of this has to do with just a long term perspective on all of that. Um, but evolution, right? This is evolutionary psychology in a way, which I know a lot of you don't like, but evolution. So, at no time in the history of Homo sapiens was there ever just like one Homo sapien living alone that did well enough to like keep his one person tribe going. You got lone wolves, big badass loners that like to go off and be hermits sometime, but we're a social animal, and you can't have offspring with just one person. You can't have offspring with a tribe of just a few people, and then have those offspring over generations not have the problems of inbreeding, right? And so we know historically that once you have a population of a species that gets to about less than 50 interbreeding, less than around 50, you're going to have genetic problems that will spring up, you know, from the royal family and their problems with hemophilia to the California condor having to be interbred with a condor from South America in order to keep it around because we only had like 9 left and we knew that it was doomed to failure. Um, we know that under a certain number, we're going to have problems, right? And as such, we also know that we've evolved to be in a group that's larger than that. And there's always been this social component to human beings. And a lot of our ancestors before that, evolutionarily ancestors, and all of the species of animals on the planet that are close to us, closely related on the same, branch of the evolutionary tree, they all are social animals. Um, just like a drone from a beehive is going to have a very hard time if he can't find his way back to the hive. He's not going to live very long. Same thing with people who, you know, want to be survivalist loners. They're just going to eventually die alone, and they're not going to live as long without the help of other people, right? But in this millions of years of evolution as a social animal, there are there are a couple universal things that are kind of interesting about us, and one of them is that as soon as we give someone a name, we're less likely to want to harm that person. For instance, in hostage negotiations, we have this playbook where we try to humanize ourselves by saying, you know, that this is my name. I want to go back to my wife and kids tonight, so please don't shoot me. I'm coming in. And also, what is your name? And who are you living for? And who would be upset if you were no longer in this world? When you're in a standoff situation, you want to humanize things and get names, right? Names are important in this. If we don't know the names of our enemy, if we don't even really see them as human, if we're trained to dehumanize them as just being the enemy, and we give that enemy maybe a nickname, then we're more likely to be aggressive with them, right? So when we apply this to who is doing the dehumanizing in this world, I think the greatest example we have right now in 2020 is the last 6 years of the President of the United States, Donald Trump, using nicknames rather than proper names in order to address people, like calling Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, calling Hillary Clinton Crooked Hillary, calling Joe Biden Sleepy Joe. It makes it a lot easier to hate people when you're using a nickname, and it really does denote that I don't care about you so much that I'm not even going to use your proper name. I'm going to give you this nickname, right? So that's the purpose behind all of these nicknames. But also, there are certain labels for things that maybe shouldn't even have a label, like inventing the name of a terrorist group when there really isn't that many people in it. You know, it's one of the reasons why it's so effective when they use the term Antifa or Black Lives Matter. At least that was a term that that movement came up with itself, but it's used pejoratively. But when they add that there's rioters and protesters and looters and murderers and all that, these labels that they're using, they they often use them pejoratively in a way that where they can't say someone's name, and that's why we have a movement for example, with Breonna Taylor, for saying say her name. You know, she was a person. Say her name. It reminds me of the scene in Fight Club where one of them died, and he says, "Well, in death, he has a name." Because it was important to remember that his death is not something that you could just look at in a inhuman way. You want to have the weight of the feelings of humanizing someone and not just considering them part of a abstract group of fighters or enemies or you know compatriots. When you dehumanize things, it's a lot easier to do evil in this world. And yeah, I just wanted to get that out there that it's very obvious these days to see who's wanting to dehumanize other people.